Hello, everyone, and welcome. Before we begin, here's a quick explanation. Adolf Hitler was the dictator of Nazi Germany from 1933 to 1945. He started World War II, caused the deaths of millions, and led one of the darkest times in human history. We are not telling this story to support him. We are not telling it to criticize him either. This video is only for educational purposes. To help you learn from history, to help you practice English, and to understand what really happened in his final 24 hours. If you want to know his full life story, you can watch his complete biography on our channel. But today, we focus on the last day, the end of everything, told like a movie, but based on real history. Welcome to the final day of a man the world will never forget. This is not a political video. This is not about supporting or attacking anyone. This is about a moment in time. The last 24 hours of Adolf Hitler, a man who once stood in front of millions, now stood alone in silence. A man who once commanded armies, now sat underground, waiting to die. And today, we will walk through those final hours. With you. We will enter the bunker. We will feel the walls shake from bombs above. We will see fear on the faces of those who followed him to the very end. And yes, this video is also perfect for English listening practice. We use real-life events, clear storytelling, and powerful vocabulary, so you can improve your English while witnessing one of the most intense days in history. Let's begin. Part 1. April 29th, 1945. The bunker, the bride, and the breaking point. It's deep into the night. The world above is on fire. But below ground, inside the cold concrete bunker beneath Berlin, time is slowing down. Adolf Hitler, age 56, is sitting alone. He knows the war is over. He knows the city above is being taken street by the Soviet army. He knows death is only hours away. And yet, at this moment, he makes a strange decision. He tells his assistant, "Prepare for a wedding. Tonight, I will marry Eva." Why now? Why, after 14 years of silence, did he choose this moment, at the end of the world, to finally marry her? Eva Braun had been with Hitler since she was 17. She had waited in the shadows, far from the public eye. She was never shown beside him in photos, never acknowledged as his partner in speeches. For 14 years, she waited, quietly, faithfully, away from the spotlight. She had tried to take her life twice, not because he hurt her, but because she felt invisible. But she stayed. She believed in him. And in his final days, she refused to leave the bunker, even when everyone else begged her to escape. And that's when he knew. This woman had followed him not for power, not for money, but out of blind, private loyalty. And now, with the city falling and the walls trembling, he said, "She deserves my name, even if only for a few more hours." This was not a romantic decision. It was not about love. It was about control, ritual, and finality. He wanted to end his life with everything arranged: a marriage, a will, a last speech, a planned death. It was the beginning of his goodbye. In a small room, dimly lit and silent, the wedding began. There were no flowers, no music, only the sound of pens scratching on paper and distant explosions above. Eva Braun wore a pale blue silk dress. Her face was calm, too calm. Everyone around her said the same thing. She smiled, like she had accepted everything. Hitler wore a simple black suit, no medals, no uniform. A civil officer stood before them and asked the traditional questions. "Do you take this woman?" He answered, "Yes." And just like that, after 14 years, they were married. The staff tried to celebrate. A small table was set. A bottle of champagne was opened. But no one drank. No one laughed. The air was too heavy. One officer later said, "It felt like a funeral, not a wedding." After the wedding, Hitler walked to a nearby room and sat at his desk. With a shaking hand and dead eyes, he began to dictate his final words. His political testament. His secretary, Traudl Junge, sat across from him and typed every sentence. He didn't say sorry. He didn't cry. He didn't admit failure. Instead, he blamed the Jews for the war. He blamed his own generals for betrayal. He claimed history would understand him, though he would not be alive to see it. And then he said something very clear. "I do not want my body to be captured. I want it to be burned." He remembered what had happened to Mussolini, whose body was hanged and spat on. He would not allow the same. He signed the document. Slowly, carefully, his last command. It was now close to 5 a.m. After finishing the document, Hitler went to rest. Not to sleep, because no one truly slept that night, but to lie down and wait. Outside, Berlin was breaking. Soviet tanks were smashing through the last Nazi defenses. Buildings were turning into ashes, and above ground, German citizens were running, crying, dying. But inside the bunker, it was like time had stopped. The walls were thick. The air was still. It felt like a world trapped in glass, frozen but shaking with every bomb outside. Eva sat beside him. She held his hand. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. They both knew. This was their honeymoon and their funeral. Hitler's valet brought him a small breakfast, dry bread, a little honey, and a cup of tea. He didn't eat much. He looked thinner than ever. His face had aged 20 years in a month. His right hand trembled. His eyes were dull. His voice, when he spoke, was soft, almost whispering. He didn't talk about war, or escape, or hope. He just sat in silence, with Eva next to him, sipping tea while bombs shook the earth around them. Then, the message came. Heinrich Himmler, the man who had stood beside Hitler for years, had tried to secretly negotiate peace with the Allies, without Hitler's permission. Hitler stared at the report for a long time. Then he exploded. He shouted, screamed, hit the table with his fist. "Traitor, betrayer, I should have known." He ordered Himmler's arrest. But deep inside, he knew there was no one left to arrest him. The system he built was falling apart. And for the first time, even Hitler looked defeated. His eyes went quiet. He leaned back in his chair. He knew the end had truly begun. Part 2. April 29th, 1945. Afternoon to late evening. It's now noon. The air in the bunker is getting heavier. There's no fresh oxygen, no sunlight, just stale air and fear. Adolf Hitler walks slowly into the map room, where war plans once lived. He used to stand there with generals, pointing at countries, commanding troops. But now, the maps are useless. The lines on them mean nothing. The war is lost. The empire is broken. He looks down at the maps, not to plan, but to remember. These were once the maps of victory. Now they are just a graveyard of dreams. He doesn't speak much. His body is shaking. His legs are weak. His personal doctor offers him medicine. He refuses. Because deep down, he knows. This isn't a war room anymore. It's a museum of my failure. Hitler had one companion he trusted more than anyone. Blondie, his German shepherd. She had been with him for years, sleeping beside him, walking by his side. She was loyal, quiet, always calm. But now Hitler calls his doctor Werner Hasse and says something shocking. Bring the cyanide capsules. I want to test them. On Blondie. Why? Because Hitler no longer trusted anyone, not even the poison given to him by his own people. He believed someone, maybe even those closest to him, might try to trick him, give him fake capsules, and let him suffer. So he ordered the doctor to take one capsule and put it in Blondie's mouth. The dog died within seconds. No sound, no fight, just death. For a moment, Hitler said nothing. Then he looked away. That was his way of confirming. The poison works. I can use it too. But for many in the bunker, this was the moment everything changed. Because when Hitler killed his own dog, the one living thing he truly trusted, they knew. He is not planning to leave. He is not planning to survive. He is planning to die. But it didn't stop with Blondie. Ava's two Scottish terriers, Wolf and Stasi, were next. The puppies that belonged to Blondie, just a few weeks old, were also killed by Hitler's dog handler. They were poisoned, silently, quickly. Why? Because Hitler didn't want to leave anything behind. No body, no bloodline, no animal, no memory. The bunker was becoming a place of total erasure. If I'm going, he thought, then everything I touched, everything I loved, must vanish too. That afternoon, Hitler gathered his remaining officers. They had all served him for years. Now they stood in front of a man who looked tired, sunken, and already half dead. Some begged him one last time. Mein Führer, we can still escape. There's a plane. We'll hide you in disguise. You can go south. He shook his head slowly. No, I will not run. I will not be captured. He told them, I will stay here. I will die here, in Berlin. Some were shocked. Some were scared. Some were silently relieved, because now they knew they could leave without guilt. He gave permission for others to try to escape through the sewers. Some officers, drivers, and aides prepared to leave that night. Most would die in the attempt. But Hitler? He was done moving, done speaking, done fighting. Back in his room, Hitler sat beside Eva Braun. She had changed her clothes, now wearing a simple dark blue dress, no makeup, no jewelry. She had not cried all day. She had not shown fear. She was ready to die. Hitler looked at her and said, You still have time. You can leave. Go with them. Escape. She smiled gently and replied, No, I stay with you. It was not love. It was not passion. It was loyalty, cold, blind loyalty. They sat in silence. No music, no conversation, just the distant sounds of Berlin collapsing above. Hitler called his secretaries, his aides, his inner circle. One by one, he shook their hands. He didn't give speeches. He didn't say long goodbyes. He simply said, Thank you, you may go now. One secretary, Gerda Christian, later said, He looked like a ghost, but still, somehow, polite. Some wept. Some held his hand longer than they should have. But Hitler kept his face blank, emotionless, calm, as if he were already gone. That moment was the end of a chapter. The people who once surrounded him like a king were now walking away, leaving him alone with his wife and with his death. As strange as it sounds, the night became quiet. Hitler ate a small meal, the same as before, bread and tea. He sat with Eva. They talked very little. Outside, the bombs were getting louder. The Soviets were now just blocks away. Gunfire could be heard above the garden. But inside the bunker, Hitler wasn't moving. He was writing something in his notebook. He wasn't giving orders. He wasn't reading the news. Because the war, his war, was already over. Hitler stood up slowly. His legs were weak. His walk was slow. He went to his private bedroom. Eva followed. The door closed behind them. There were guards posted outside, but no one was allowed in. It was not a night for sleep. It was a night to prepare. Because by the time the sun would rise, everything would end. As April 30th begins, time no longer feels real inside the Führer bunker. Above ground, Berlin is collapsing street by street. The sounds of explosions are now constant. Gunfire, shells, even human screams. The Soviets are almost at the gates, but inside, it is silent. Hitler lies in bed, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. He is not sleeping. Eva Braun is next to him, quiet, peaceful, already emotionally gone. She knows it's her final night. Down the hallway, staff members whisper softly. Nobody knows what to say anymore. The bunker has become a waiting room for death. Hitler gets up. Slowly, carefully. His steps are weak. His back is bent. His clothes hang loosely on his thin body. He walks into the hallway. His eyes scan the faces of the few people still loyal to him. No anger, no panic, only stillness. Like a man who has already said goodbye to the world inside his heart. He sits in the dining room with Eva. They eat a small breakfast. The same as always, dry bread and tea. Eva tries to smile. Hitler tries to stay calm, but everyone knows, this is not a meal. This is a ritual before execution, one they will perform themselves. Hitler calls in his aide, Otto Günsche, and gives him two very specific orders. 1. After he and Eva are dead, their bodies must be immediately carried outside and burned. 2. The burning must be done completely. No trace should remain. He reminds Otto of what happened to Mussolini. Hung upside down, spit on, mocked by the public. That will not happen to me, Hitler says. You must burn us, no matter what it takes. Otto nods. His face is pale. His hands are shaking, but he agrees, because disobeying was not an option. Even now, Hitler gets dressed, not in a uniform, not in a general's coat, but in a plain military jacket, buttoned all the way up, and dark trousers. Eva puts on a dark blue silk dress, her favorite. No jewelry, just soft perfume. She brushes her hair carefully, like a bride preparing for her final hour. Then Hitler walks into the hallway. One by one, he meets with his personal staff. He shakes each of their hands slowly and quietly. To some, he says a word. To others, just a nod. Thank you, he says to his secretary, Traudl Junge. You may leave now. You have served me well. Some start crying. Others freeze, unsure how to say goodbye. One officer, Rokas Misch, later remembered. He looked like a shadow, not a man. He was calm, but the calm of someone who has given up. The goodbyes continue, one by one. No ceremony, no tears from him, only silence. Hitler and Eva return to their private room. There, Eva sits on the sofa, calm, unafraid. She opens a small brass capsule, cyanide. She holds it in her hand and looks at him. They've talked about this many times. They will not let the Soviets capture them. They will die together, on their own terms. Hitler holds the same kind of capsule. But he also prepares his Walther pistol, the one he had used for years. He plans to take both the pill and the bullet, just to be sure. He calls in Otto Günsche and his valet Heinz Linge. He tells them, the time has come. You will wait outside. When it is over, open the door. Otto and Heinz nod. They walk to the hallway and stand in silence just a few feet from the door. Inside, Hitler and Eva sit together on the sofa. 3:30 p.m. The final act. No one sees exactly what happens inside that room, But witnesses standing outside hear only one sound, a single gunshot. Otto and Heinz rush in. What they find will become one of the most talked about scenes in modern history. Hitler is slumped on the sofa. His body is still. There is a small hole in his right temple. The blood has splattered across the floor and wall. Eva lies beside him. There are no wounds, only a faint smell of bitter almonds from the cyanide. They are both dead. The man who once commanded millions is now a lifeless figure in a quiet underground room. Just as ordered, Otto and Heinz begin the process. They wrap both bodies in thick gray blankets. They carry them upstairs, up the narrow staircase, through the tight hallway, and out into the garden behind the chancellery. It is still daylight. The ground is shaking from artillery fire. The Soviets are only blocks away. They place the bodies in a shallow crater near the bunker exit. Then they pour can after can of gasoline over them. Otto takes a match. He lights it, drops it. The flames rise. The bodies begin to burn. No music, no prayer, no soldiers, no flag, just fire, smoke, and silence. They salute the flames, then run back into the bunker as gunfire cracks overhead. Inside, the remaining staff gather. Otto reports, "The Führer is dead. His body has been burned." There is no celebration, no ceremony, just stunned faces, pale skin, and empty eyes. For a moment, nobody speaks. Then someone says, "It's over." And just like that, everything Hitler built, everything he controlled, everything he dreamed, was now ashes in a garden. Part 3. April 30th, 1945, 4 p.m. onward. Outside the bunker, in the garden above, the bodies of Hitler and Eva Braun are still burning. Black smoke rises. The flames are strong at first, but begin to weaken quickly. Why? Because the ground is soaked with rain and the supply of gasoline is limited. They pour more, light it again, but the bodies do not burn completely. Inside the bunker, people wait in silence. Nobody talks about the future. Nobody makes plans. They just sit, frozen in fear, knowing that any moment now, the Soviets could be at the door. Before his death, Hitler had signed his final political statement. In it, he named Admiral Karl Dönitz as the new leader of Germany. Not Himmler, not Goebbels. Dönitz is in northern Germany. When he receives the message, he's shocked and confused. Germany is falling. The war is over. The capital is lost. But now, he is the head of a dead empire. He immediately begins trying to negotiate peace with the Allies, hoping to surrender to the West, not to the Soviets. Inside the Führer bunker, something is different. The man who controlled everything is gone. There are no more orders, no more leadership, no more future. For the people still there, secretaries, cooks, aides, soldiers, the reality begins to hit. We are not part of a government anymore. We are part of a grave. Some people start packing small bags. They grab warm coats, food, water, and maps. They know they need to escape. They know the Soviets are closing in. They know capture might mean torture or death. But there's one problem. There is no clear way out. Now that Hitler is dead, Joseph Goebbels, the Minister of Propaganda, becomes the most senior Nazi official inside the bunker. He is not surprised. He was there when Hitler said goodbye. But Goebbels has no plans to run, no plans to surrender. He calls his wife, Magda, and says, "We will not leave. We will not live in a world without him." Together, they make a terrifying decision. They will die here, and they will kill their 6 children with them. Their decision shocks even the remaining staff. But nobody dares to argue. While Goebbels prepares for death, others are preparing for escape. A group of guards, officers, and bunker staff start planning routes out of Berlin. Some try to use secret tunnels. Others plan to move disguised as civilians. Some plan to wait until dark and slip out under gunfire. The first group to try, around 20 people, leaves just before sunset. They wear civilian clothes, carry light bags, but above ground, chaos rules. Soviet tanks are rolling in. There are gunfights on every street corner. Fires light up the sky. Only a few escape. Most are killed or captured within hours. Otto Günsche and Heinz Linge return to the garden. They check the remains of Hitler and Eva. What they find is disturbing. The bodies are still partly visible. Some of the skin is burned. The clothes are blackened. But the bones and faces are not fully destroyed. They pour more fuel. Burn again. But it's not enough. Then they gather the partially burned remains and bury them in a shallow crater, not far from the exit. They cover it with dirt, broken wood, and debris from the bombings. No cross, no sign. They want the bodies to disappear forever. Back underground, Magda Goebbels gives her children sleeping pills. All 6 of them, between the ages of 4 and 12, fall into deep sleep. They are dressed in clean white clothes. She then brings in an SS doctor who helps her give the children cyanide capsules while they sleep. They die silently, without ever waking up. Then Josef and Magda Goebbels go to the garden, the same place where Hitler and Eva died. They sit together. Josef shoots himself in the head. Magda takes poison. Their bodies are also burned, though not completely. By now, the bunker is becoming a mass graveyard. The bunker is almost empty of hope. The senior leaders are dead. The streets are overrun with Soviets. The sky is full of fire and gunshots. No help is coming. Some people cry, some drink, some pray. Others sit quietly in their rooms staring at the walls. No one knows what will happen next. But one thing is clear. This is no longer a war. It's just the end of everything. Part 4. May 1st to May 9th, 1945. The bunker is now darker than ever. The man it was built to protect is gone. His wife is gone. His dogs, his generals, his closest circle, all either dead or planning their escape. But the war above continues. Soviet soldiers are inside Berlin now, fighting street by street. Bullets fly, grenades explode, bodies fall. Inside the bunker, only a few remain. They are afraid, hungry, trapped. They don't know if they'll be killed or captured. That night, a voice is heard on German radio. It is Admiral Karl Dönitz speaking from northern Germany. He announces that Adolf Hitler has died, but he does not say how. The Führer has fallen in battle, fighting for Germany. That's what he says, but it's not true, and the world knows it. The real cause of death, suicide, is hidden from the public. The Nazi regime wants to protect Hitler's image, even after death. But the truth will soon come out. At last, Soviet troops reach the Reich Chancellery, the building above the Führer bunker. They kill or arrest the last few defenders, then storm the remains of the building. They go downstairs. And there it is, the bunker, cold, dark, half-flooded, filled with smoke, broken furniture, maps on the walls, blood on the floor. They find papers burned in piles, food supplies scattered, beds unmade, poison capsules left behind, and a strange silence. But one thing is missing: Hitler's body. The Soviets search every room. They question survivors. They look in tunnels. They search the garden. And then they find something. In a shallow crater near the bunker entrance, they discover a burned male body with a bullet hole in the skull. A female body, half burned, with no visible wounds. Remnants of clothing, boots, buttons, a dental bridge. The Soviets believe this might be Hitler and Eva Braun. But the bodies are so badly burned, they cannot be confirmed immediately. They collect the remains. They hide them. They take photographs. They begin secret autopsies. Back in Moscow, Soviet leader Joseph Stalin receives the news. He sees the bodies. He hears the reports. But instead of telling the world, he orders silence. Why? Because Stalin wants power over the truth. He thinks, if we don't confirm Hitler's death, the world will remain uncertain. So he says nothing. And by doing that, Stalin starts one of the biggest historical mysteries of all time. With no official Soviet confirmation, the rumors begin to spread. Maybe Hitler didn't die. Maybe he escaped to Argentina. Maybe it was a body double. Maybe the body was fake. Maybe he's hiding, waiting to return. These theories become legends. And even though his staff had seen him dead, even though his body was found, people start believing the lie. Because when truth is hidden, fiction grows. It took decades to confirm everything. But here is what actually happened. 1. Soviet doctors conducted autopsies on the burned bodies. 2. They compared dental records, the most reliable identification method available at the time. 3. Hitler's dental assistant, who survived the war, later confirmed the records. Her testimony matched the burned jawbone found in the garden. That jawbone, with gold bridgework, was Hitler's. The Soviets kept it hidden for over 20 years. Only in the 1990s, after the fall of the Soviet Union, did they finally admit, yes, the body we found was Adolf Hitler. With Hitler gone, Goebbels gone, and Berlin fallen, there was nothing left. On May 7th, Germany signs its official surrender to the Allies. On May 9th, they surrender to the Soviet Union. The war in Europe is over. Nazi Germany is dead. The Third Reich, once powerful, terrifying, global, has ended in a bunker, in silence and flames. The news spreads fast. Newspapers print huge headlines. Hitler dead. Suicide confirmed. Germany surrenders. War in Europe ends. Some people celebrate in the streets. Some cry in private. Some don't believe it at all. Because how could a man who started so much horror end his life in a quiet room with a pill and a gun? It felt empty. It felt too easy. But that's the truth. He didn't die in battle. He didn't face justice. He didn't beg for mercy. He died by his own hand, underground, surrounded by fear, failure, and fire. The Soviets destroyed most of it. They blew up the entrance, covered the ruins with concrete, and tried to erase it from history. For decades, the location was kept secret. Today, the site is just a simple parking lot in Berlin. No signs, no memorials, no statue. Because Germany chose to never glorify the place where evil ended. And that is powerful. And this was the true historical story of the last 24 hours of Adolf Hitler. Told not to praise, not to support, and not to attack, but to learn, understand, and remember. What we learn from this story, no matter how powerful someone becomes, if they lead through fear and hate, they will always fall, in silence and shame. History is not just about facts. It is about understanding the cost of blind leadership, war, and destruction. The most dangerous leaders are not the loudest. They are the ones who are followed without question. And finally, If we do not learn from the past, we risk making the same mistakes in the future. This video also helps you practice real-life English through deep storytelling, emotional vocabulary, and simple sentence structure. So if you are learning English, you are not just watching history. You are improving your listening, understanding, and speaking. If you found this story powerful, if you learned something today, and if you want more true, emotional, and educational videos like this, then please subscribe to this channel right now, because every video here is created with purpose to help you learn, grow, and become stronger in English and in life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next powerful story.